Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review. This movie is a drama/thriller from Australia, English language, released in the year 2007, directed by Ring and Ledwidge, and this film is called Gone. So Gone is about a British couple. They're travelling through the outback of Australia, seeing the sights, and they meet up with this American guy. Now the American guy is very charismatic, he's attractive, and pretty soon he befriends this couple and they go together as a trio. Now the British male, he starts to suspect that the American likes his girlfriend, and they start to get a connection, and so this brings out a lot of jealousy amongst the trio, and this threatens to spiral out of control, especially when the British male starts to suspect that there is more to this American than he first thought, and in fact he might be quite dangerous. And so whether or not that is the case is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Gone. Being an Australian movie and an Australian movie of this type, I was very, very sceptical. I wasn't really preparing myself for a good film, and the reason is that you're new to my channel, then you wouldn't have heard me say it in the past, but if you are familiar with my channel, you guys know how disappointed I am with cinema in my country, especially recently, is that it has just lost its way. You know, back in the 70s and 80s, we had something called Ozploitation, and that really showed the world what we're capable of. They were the glory days of Australian cinema. Then in the 90s, you had films like Romper Stomper that were extreme and really pushed the envelope as far as limits are concerned. But then unfortunately, Australia have just gone downhill with made-for-TV garbage. It's all, even TV shows, even, the television here in my country, it's all about romance, it's all about feelings, it's all about, psychological studies of people with trivial problems. And these trivial problems are just eye-rolling, and they're just very, very boring. It's because everything is all the same. But then very recently you have films like Wolf Creek, Storm Warning, Killing Ground, movies, and even The Nightingale very recently, that have just blown the boundaries once again, and it's taking it back to the glory days of Ozploitation. And so that's something that I'm very grateful for, and I'm very excited for, is that maybe Australia are realising the errors of their ways and they're getting back to what made them good in the first place. But there are a lot of films still out there that are more concerned with trivial romance, and romance with characters that are very arrogant and very self-centered, and so you can't relate to these people. And so I constantly feel as though these are pointless exercises. And so this is my skepticism coming into Gone. I thought Ring and Ledwidge is a director I hadn't heard of. This is a film that I really hadn't heard of from 2007, and so that does create alarm bells. But then I was hoping, all right, well, maybe this is a film that's just flown under the radar and I could actually recommend it. But unfortunately, after watching this film, I will say that this is just another disposable movie that you can put to the pile of crap that completely destroys the Australian film industry and makes us a laughing stock. Now, the reason why this is crap is, once again, it goes to fluffy romance, and romance with uninteresting characters. Therefore, it just defeats the purpose in the first place. Is that this is a film that has so many different ideas, and the tone is just so disjointed that you can't really get into anything. On one side, you've got a thriller. You've got a thriller that is set in the outback. Now, visually, this is very impressive. The outback plays a character of its own, as is the case with Wolf Creek. Wolf Creek had the outback and it used it in a very scary way. And you've got films like Jaws, classic films in the United States that use the ocean as a character of its own. And so using settings as characters, I think, is a very hard thing to do. But Ring and Ledwidge actually does that with this film. But unfortunately, he doesn't use that outback because he doesn't know how to create moments of suspense. He threatens to create a moment of suspense, but then all of a sudden it goes into a romance film. The trio, the romance between this trio is not the most interesting aspect of this movie. The most interesting aspect is the outback. But the director doesn't know this, and he doesn't know where he wants to go. Does he want to make a thriller? Is that things are starting to get on edge, but then you can have a breather because it just goes into this romance. And the romance drama side of this film doesn't work because the characters make very silly decisions. And these silly decisions are evident in horror films. But because this doesn't want to necessarily be a horror film and it wants to be a drama, because they're making stupid decisions, it makes you disconnected from these people. It's that they're idiots. And why should I care about an idiot? And unfortunately, you just don't care about the idiots. And so when they're doing all this stuff as far as the romance drama is concerned, I always thought that I was watching characters in the film. And because that disconnection was there, it just defeated the purpose. And I just thought this was a very, very boring experience because, as I said, it doesn't know what it wants to do. It fails on everything it tries. As a thriller aspect, it fails because it doesn't realise what it has. And then on the drama aspect, it's not prepared to use a script in a way that it can mould characters that you could feel for. And there are emotional events that happen in this film that I just didn't care for, and therefore I'm looking at my watch constantly in this experience. So the acting, nothing to really write home about. They didn't really have anything to play with. It wasn't terrible acting, but the script just didn't allow anything to be memorable. And so the visuals are the only good part of this movie. It threatened to be a very unnerving film, but unfortunately the tone just shifts so many times that it just becomes a completely disjointed mess. This is, as I said, another indication of how disappointing Australian cinema can be, is because it just doesn't have any self-awareness. And because the film doesn't have any self-awareness, it just comes across as a complete wasted opportunity, and therefore a film that I would say skip the chance to see, which it pains me to say, because I'm always looking to recommend Australian movies, but this one is definitely one that you could put onto the pile of disposable movies, and you're really not missing anything if you don't get the chance to see it. So overall, for Gone, I was really disappointed. I'm only going to give this one 1 star. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later.